All right, folks, welcome to our session here today on implementation and integration. We'll give it just another 30 seconds here before we get started. For those of you that this is your first time with us, I want to say welcome. Welcome to Recurly. Welcome to our Learning Path series. This is a 4-part series. Each track we talk about a specific element of Recurly. In this one, we're going to be discussing implementation and integration. So we're going to be talking about configuring your site settings, looking at your dunning settings, the emails that you send out, taking a look at the Recurly docs, where to find resources, how to configure your goods and services, aka plans, and just execute kind of a common walkthrough of the program here. So if you are the person in charge of setting up your Recurly instance, this is a great track for you to just kind of get a surface level understanding of all of the crucial elements that you'll need to have in place in order to be successful when you go live. So let's go ahead and get started here. We'll just take a look at our agenda today. We'll do a brief introduction here and an overview of the Recurly UI. Then we're going to get into the bulk of the program here. So we're going to switch over to app.recurly.com. We're going to talk about plans, gateways, emails, dunning, etc. And then we'll take a look at some docs that will help you navigate the Recurly API, Recurly JS, as well as how to file a support ticket with our team. And then we'll take a look at the integration options that you have. We'll discuss some overall admins things, and we'll get into a question and answer session. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Alex Kroll. I'm a customer operations specialist here at Recurly. My job is to make sure our merchants are getting the most value out of the program as possible. So we want to help you realize your time to value with the program. Make sure that when you sign up, there's not a lag in time to going live. Make sure you get an understanding of the program pretty quickly. All of us have tried new software in our professional lives, and some software is easier to learn than others. We want to make sure Recurly is a smooth transition for you, whether you're coming from a previous billing system or this is your first time with a billing system. So hopefully this will help expedite that process. So let's go ahead and kick things off. We're going to head into the app right now. So as you can see, I'm in app.recurly.com. So I'm in a sandbox account. So if you are the person setting up the Recurly instance, you have two different types of accounts. You have a sandbox account and a production site. Sandbox is where you can basically play around with anything about the program. You can run fake transactions, add fake gateways, configure fake emails. You can do anything in the account and none of it will harm your production site. So this is always a great place for you to start, for you to get familiar with the program before going live. So we're in my sandbox account. On the left side of your screen, you're always going to see that vertical bar here. This is your navigation window. You'll see the Recurly logo at the top. You'll see your site name, and then you'll see the navigation options: customers, analytics, configuration, integrations, and admin. Now, depending on the level of access that you have in the program, you might see some of these options go away. For example, a support agent typically won't have access to admin, integrations, or configurations. Maybe they only have access to customers, right, to execute those common actions like refunding, pausing, canceling, postponing, issuing invoices, things like that. So today we're going to spend the majority of our time in configuration. Configuration is basically where we configure everything, right? It's where we configure our plans, our items, if applicable, our taxes, currencies, coupons, payment gateways, email templates. We're not going to touch on everything because that would take us a couple of hours to do, but we're going to touch on what I feel to be some of the most important and some of the topics that are crucial for you to go live. So the first one we stop at is site settings. This one's pretty straightforward. This is where we are going to adjust anything about our company information. So our company name, where we're doing business from, and our technical and billing contact information. It's absolutely critical that you get this implemented and configured as soon as possible. It's as simple as just filling out these forms, clicking save, and your site information is updated. There are various elements that we deal with as a global company when it comes to individual countries. So it's important we know which one of our merchants are associated with a particular country where a particular issue might come up. So make sure you have your site settings completely dialed in before you go live. The next step is plans. So plans is where you sell your goods and services, right? If you're a box of the month, if you're a book club, maybe you are a software and you sell on a monthly or annual basis, all of that is configured here in plans. So as you can see, I've got a number of plans already created. You can see those all right here. But if we wanted to create a brand new plan, we're just going to head up here to the top right and we'll click New Plan. What this does is take us into our plan configuration page. From here, we can add a plan name, anything about the billing, and then that plan will be ready to go. So let's go ahead and execute this together. So we're going to call this the example plan 1231, just so I have a unique identifier. This plan will be billed by the month. Our price per billing period is going to be $49. The quantity is not editable. Our term length is 1 billing period before it's going to auto renew. So you can probably get a sense, this is a really basic example. Typically what you see of a lot of SaaS companies is you have a monthly subscription. It renews every month until you tell the system that you are going to cancel as the subscriber. Now we aren't going to have any add-ons here, but we will talk about this in just a second. There's no free trial, but there is a $10 setup fee. We come down to the bottom here and create plan. Very easy to do. Honestly, in my opinion, it's one of the most fun things to do because these are your goods and services. It's kind of like seeing them come to life. Now, once a plan is created, there are a couple different ways for you to sell that plan to your customers in terms of checkout page. The first option is the hosted payment page over here on the right. Hosted payment page essentially allows you to go live immediately. This is configured for you. And when I say go live immediately, I'm talking about, as if you're in your production site, you have your gateway already enabled and a couple other elements. You could have your customers already checking out. So you can see here a checkout page, the hosted payment page, has been generated for our example plan 1231. So if I was to sign up, my order total would be $59. I would enter my contact information, anything else that's required, and then go ahead and submit. Okay, very easy to do. The alternative to this is what we call Recurly JS. This is where you custom config your own checkout page. Now we have documentation on how to execute on this plan. This typically requires you to have some sort of developer experience, a developer on staff, or some sort of shop that you work with in order to enable that checkout page. Now, a little more information on Recurly JS can be found just by going to support.recurly.com. You can go into our developer documentation here. So let's head back to our plan and let's create one more plan, except it's going to be a little more complicated. So we're going to bring in something called item catalog now. Now, if you think about it, the typical offering is, I shouldn't say typical, but a basic offering is, kind of a software package. You pay for it by month, right? It renews monthly, just like the plan that we just created. But let's take that a step deeper and say we want to sell additional items, maybe one-off items during checkout. This is where what's called item catalog comes into play. So if I come down to my items, these are kind of the individual things that I sell, the one-off items. So you can see I've created a few from previous demos here, but if we have a candle, a bookmark, a chew toy, a coaster, let's say we're going to go with a software company and we are going to sell equipment as a one-time charge. So if I create new item, we're going to call this equipment, and then we need the item code. Come down to the bottom here, the default price for this equipment is going to be $45. We're going to collect tax on it. We'll create item. Very easy. It's just as easy as creating a plan. So now let's link the two together. And just to summarize, what we're going to create right now is a software plan. So it's going to be a monthly plan, but during checkout, we're going to provide the option or the ability to check out with equipment. So this is not only an upsell opportunity, but it's also an opportunity to just get different products in front of your customers. It's also an opportunity if it's standard for your company to provide these additional products, they can see them during the checkout process. So let's head up here to New Plan. And we're just going to call this Equipment Software Plan. And our plan code will just be ESP1231. Our billing period, again, is going to be monthly. We're going to charge $100 a month for this. Our term length is 1, and we're going to auto-renew. Now, let's go ahead and add that item. So for add-ons, you can see I can search for an existing item. We're going to search for that equipment right here. We've added it in. It's a fixed price item. Now keep in mind, we also offer tiered volume and stair-step pricing. We won't cover that in today's demo, but it's fantastic flexibility in terms of pricing out your goods. And we're looking good on that individual item. Our trial length, let's go ahead and say it's going to be 7 days. And we will require billing. There is no setup fee this time. Go ahead and create the plan. And done. So let's head back over to our HPP, our hosted payment page, and take a look at this offering. So you can see here we've got our equipment software plan. It's a 1-week free trial, so that $100 is voided. We're going to go ahead and add the equipment, but again, this is a free trial, so this is all just going to apply itself in 7 days. So the customer can see that we're getting the free trial. So $0 is due now, but the $145 would be due upon renewal at the end of our 7-day free trial. So our payment pages are unique to each one of our plans that we create. Our next stop here is going to be on email templates. Email templates are critical before you go live to have a review. We send an email for just about every transaction that can occur within Recurly. Everything from activating an account to a password reset to sending out emails about our dunning period. It's particularly important we get these set up because sometimes there's compliance issues with where your business is located in terms of what emails are required for you to send out. Maybe during a free trial, maybe when a trial is ending, maybe when an invoice is generated or when an invoice is paid, right? So there are certain elements that you need to be aware of as the merchant when it comes to emails that are required to be sent. Now, from a configuration perspective, a green light here means that the template is enabled. A gray light would mean, or lack of a green light would mean that it's disabled. Okay, you can come in here and adjust anything about the template by previewing the HTML or editing the template. You can even head into the settings and change what the from address is and the status of the email as well. Now, keep in mind, you can always create additional copies of emails. This is particularly important for our dunning emails. Dunning is the process of capitalizing on failed invoices. So whenever a card fails upon renewal, your customer will enter a dunning process where Recurly, as well as yourself sending emails, will attempt collection on that card in order to ensure that they don't fall victim to involuntary churn. So that kind of wraps up our emails here. Just make sure to take a look at them. There are 25 different email templates here that you can adjust, and all of them can be adjusted just right here by hovering over the email and then editing the template. Our next stop here is payment gateways. Now, you may have already worked with a payment gateway. If that's the case, you can fast forward through this section here. But payment gateways are how you actually process the money that's going to flow from your subscriber to you. So it's absolutely critical that you have a payment gateway. Now, within your tech stack, you have your subscription management platform, which is Recurly, and you'll also need your gateway, which is how the transaction is actually processed. So if you haven't worked with a gateway yet, Recurly works with many, many different gateways. That's one benefit about working with us is you can have any gateway partner that we work with just by coming up here to Payment Gateway Actions and clicking Add Payment Gateway. So these are all of the options available to me. Again, this will display based off of your location that you define in your site settings. So I'm in the United States, so I believe I have 22 different gateway options here. Everything from Stripe, Braintree, Vantiv, Adyen, WorldPay. You have many, many different items to choose from. You also have some alternative payment solutions. So direct debit, ACH, SEPA. You've got Amazon Pay and PayPal. So all very common amongst all of our merchants. If you haven't reached out to a gateway yet, I would typically recommend reaching out to 2 or 3 just so you can compare their pricing, kind of learn about their support team, and see if they're another part of your tech stack that you feel comfortable working with. Now, once you obtain your gateway credentials, you can simply click on the gateway that you partnered with. Let's say it's Braintree. And then you'll enter your merchant credentials. So you'll enter that here, scroll down to the bottom, and add payment gateway. So I'm not going to do that now, but I am going to head back to the payment gateway page. And you can see a couple gateways that I already have configured from the past, one of which is Braintree, the other is Go Cardless. Go Cardless allows me to accept bank-to-bank transfers. So this is really cool for recurring payments. A lot of folks are looking to say, I don't want to pay with my card anymore. I want to pay with bank information. And that's absolutely possible through Go Cardless. And then Braintree, one of our most popular gateways for accepting credit card transactions. Now, moving on here to our hosted page settings. So this is particularly important for our folks, typically our smaller merchants or those just looking to go live quickly without any custom configuration. Your hosted pages. So we've got a hosted payment page, and we also have a hosted account management page. The account management page is just exactly as you're thinking. It's where you can log into your account, cancel your subscription, view your invoices, update your billing information, everything like that, all of your admin duties as a subscriber. All of the settings about those pages can be adjusted right here in the hosted page settings. If you do make a change, just be sure to scroll down to the bottom and click Save Changes. Next up, let's talk about dunning management. So dunning, as I alluded to earlier, is the process of making sure our customers do not fall victim to involuntary churn. Anyone that's been in the subscription space before knows that a certain percentage of your credit card transactions are always going to fail. That's just the reality of it. And when they do fail, it's important that you have a system in place that helps you make sure that that customer updates their information and does not become victim of involuntary churn. So part of that is the dunning process. That's where you are sending emails after that declined transaction to say, hey, customer, your billing information isn't up to date, excuse me, or I wasn't able to collect on the last bill. And then in the background, Recurly is using what we call the revenue optimization engine to retry that card using machine learning, using logic that we have generated over the years. So this is a really big responsibility here. You want to make sure you're following our dunning best practices. We've got an article for that in our support channel. But typically you'll adjust the emails here. You'll adjust the cadence in which they're sent. So maybe you send an email immediately, day 3, day 7, day 10, day 14. You can determine the length, but again, there's best practices to abide by. Now you'll also want to make sure you update the email copy. That takes place back here in email templates. There's an email template called payment declined. That's the one you're going to want to edit. The biggest thing you're going to want to add to that email is a call to action. So a specific button that our customers can click that removes friction from the updating billing process to go ahead and get their new billing information in there. Okay. So we are moving along pretty healthy pace here. We've covered a lot of topics here when it comes to configuration. One element I want to touch on is integrations. So we have various, standard partners that we work with in terms of integrations: QuickBooks, Salesforce, Zendesk, and we also offer automated exports. So let's say you want to see a particular report get generated every month. That is a possibility. So under automated exports, you can see the list of exports you can generate, and then with a little bit of configuration, you could have these, maybe emailed to you every month. Back in integrations, Your API credentials. So very critical piece of information here. This is where you can grab your API key. And if you work with any other softwares like maybe ChartMogul or Salesforce, anybody else that accepts the API key that you want to have a relationship with, this is how you'll connect them. Okay. Now, admin. Last but not least here, admin, very important. This is where you are going to choose your users. So when you add a new user to your Recurly account, you'll be asked what level of access would that user like. You can go ahead and configure that here, as well as choosing your plan. So if you are maybe on core and you'd like to upgrade to professional or elite, that is always an option as well. Just to take a look back in our documentation here, please feel free to use this as a resource. We've got a fantastic support team. They're a great help. And, we have ticket routing in place. So you can rest assured that if you have a pretty significant ticket, a pretty in-depth, something around the API or around Recurly.js, we do have specific members of our support team that are here to help with that information. So please feel free to reach out. You can create a support ticket right here. You can review our developer docs right here, as well as our front-end product documentation here. So that is going to cover everything here for today's track of implementation and integration. I highly encourage you to check out our other 3 tracks. We have the decision makers track, we have analytics, so exports and ease of use, that type of thing. And then we also have support, so welcoming support agents to Recurly, a great way to train them on how to use Recurly for customer-facing interactions. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. I really hope you found value in this learning path. And welcome to Recurly, and thanks so much for being with us. All right, take care, everyone.